Hello and welcome to my office. Today I have a video for you called Drugs and Creativity, My Story. I don't vape, I don't smoke cigarettes or marijuana, and I don't drink alcohol, but I stay creative, and I'm very happy with that. There were times when I did drink a lot, and there were times when I smoked a lot of marijuana, and I mean a lot. I don't regret my story. Actually, it makes me who I am. And I'm very happy to share my experiences and let you come up with whatever conclusions you want to. I was pretty much clean all the way up until probably the weekend before college started. I used to look at my friends that didn't drink, and I looked at how they weren't really going out. They weren't doing anything. I thought they were living with regret. I thought they were going to regret these decisions to just stay small. That's really how I felt. Like they were deciding to stay small because they didn't drink. It got me over the hurdles that I put in front of myself that I couldn't really get past. I felt like my own anxiety, I felt like I couldn't get past it. I wouldn't take as many risks. I wouldn't be the story that was told afterwards. And sometimes you want to be that if you've never been that. It wasn't really until the third year of college that I tried smoking once. But what happened was it would be like once a year, 420. We would all be pretty silly. We just have like a little bit really. And we'd all get giggly in a room together. So here's a long story short. I eventually failed out of college. It took about 6 years, but I really didn't know what I wanted to do. Now, I was living with two good friends at the time, and when they did graduate, we all had a plan. The plan was to get about a pound of weed. We were going to spend that summer before going home, just getting as high as possible, as much as possible, doing as many stereotypical things as possible. But this is kind of where the creativity thing comes in, because I felt like I was getting cultured. I was sitting in front of these pieces of media. Some of them I had seen before and some of them I hadn't. But I felt like I was having these beautiful experiences. I felt like I was actually enjoying music that I didn't expect to enjoy. And I was crying at movies and I didn't know why. But also there's something kind of childlike about what we were doing. Very childlike, in fact, because it was like permission to play again, permission to not be an adult. It was like having childlike wonder and curiosity again. The other funny effect of either smoking marijuana or drinking alcohol is you get this sense of oneness that's really odd with everyone around you. Like that you're all thinking the same stuff, that you're all enjoying the same vibe, and that there's a sort of a beautiful coming together happening. And what's funny is that sometimes when you're the sober one in the room and you see the drunk person doing that, you realize it's all in their head. And so it's probably all in your head too when you're going through it, but it feels real. So yeah, after all of that, after that binge, I was a fan. After college, I was like, you know what? I'm back home. I know a little bit more about life now. If someone was smoking, I'd smoke with them and we'd all chill out and it felt like a good time. And a part of me would wonder like, what would it be like to get high with this person or to get high with this person? And I was very curious about experiencing things, not just drunk, but high, because I felt like it changed things. I felt like I was a cooler person to be around when I was smoking. There was like a deeper feeling of connection with the earth and with the people around you. And that's what I wanted for other people too. I wanted other people to experience that. And I remember thinking, life is precious and you really get to sink into this moment here and enjoy it and drink deeply from life. And I felt like whenever I smoked marijuana, it was a chance to do that. And so I was meeting a lot of people. And I met my DJ mentor who do back-to-back sets. We did record the sessions. I would go home, light up, smoke up, and listen to the stuff because I wanted to hear it. I wanted to hear it back. And this is the start of me checking in with marijuana. This kind of started to happen where I wouldn't really know for sure unless I got high and kind of thought about stuff. So I was starting to really more trust my perception when I was high. So also I was involved with a social justice group, and that is a big story. That is a full story because eventually I fell out, but not after a lot of damage was done. I became very anti-capitalist, so I hated my job that I was currently in. I lost the ability to look on any sort of bright side about much of anything. What happened next was my rock bottom because I'd fallen out with my family. I'd fallen out with my friends. By then I had quit my job, and the last week I was at my job, I tore my meniscus, and it was right before I got an apartment with one of my college friends. So suddenly I found it very difficult to work. I couldn't really use my legs. Like one went and then the other went right after. And I was really bad at asking for help at this time. I was in an apartment that now my friend from college was going to have to pay for entirely until I got better. Both of my legs very quickly were not able to be even straightened. And I was like that for 2 months before another friend came by and said, I'm getting you a wheelchair so you can at least move around without having to crawl across the floor, drag yourself. During that time, I felt like everything was too much to handle and I needed marijuana. And so every chance I could, as often as I could, I really relied on marijuana. It was my only safety net in a way. And when you've had too many bad days, as I did, as we both kind of did, we just wanted to numb the pain. Now, if you told me at that time anything negative about marijuana, I was not available to hear it. I felt like without it, who knows what I would do. I felt like I was at the end of my rope. I was falling, I was spiraling. The world looked like this. It looked like this. It's going toward a point, a vanishing point, and I felt my mortality. It felt like the end in a lot of ways, and marijuana was my savior. Now, a funny thing psychologically happens to someone who goes through something like that. They feel a great sense of gratitude, a debt of gratitude toward whatever saved them. And I attributed that to the marijuana. So at the time, I felt like a moment not high was a moment wasted, and that it was a necessary coping mechanism, and I needed to incorporate it into my life going forward so that I could rebuild myself, and that I was ready to come back to everybody. And I actually found out from everyone that I knew, basically, that they kind of saw that I was really not a pleasant person to be around, and that if they did try to help me, I would usually aggressively resist, so they stopped trying. And it was kind of a sobering moment. And I started to connect with old friends. I started doing things, but I would always check in with marijuana. And if I felt like I took 5 steps forward, then I felt like I was going to have even more profound revelations. And now that I wanted to get better, and I felt like I needed to make up for some wasted time, I wanted to get every leg up I could to smoke weed to make myself a more progressed person. And I definitely had relationships that were centered around weed, around smoking weed. I felt like we were on the next level and our conversations were important and needed to be documented. And really, I was doing more in my life. I actually finally had the strength to get a real job. And I actually met the love of my life. And you start to build future images. You start to envision what life's going to be like going forward, that you're going to meet the perfect person and they're going to be into the stuff you're into. But something happened. What if you meet the love of your life? You're like, yes, this is the one. And you find out, no, they actually don't have any interest at all in smoking marijuana. They don't want to have it a part of their life at all. Any marijuana use you do is going to be separate from them, and they don't want to be in the same room. They don't want to be around you while you're stoned, because this person been through the path already that I was on. Now, she did it with alcohol, but she knew what she was talking about, actually. And she pointed out something to me that really, I couldn't really debate it. She found out my secret in a way, that I thought that I was a better person in every way, shape, and form when I was high. And not only is there a question of, well, why should you need to buy this? It wasn't just that. And yes, it is expensive to be high all the time. But there's another cost. And this was the bigger thing. Do you really know what you were like when you're high? Or are you just busy enjoying being high? Do you actually think that you're as clever as you think you are? Are you as creative as you think you are when you're high? Are you really putting the pieces together? Are you really that much on the cutting, bleeding edge of progress, of debate, of creativity, of life? I thought I was. But this person challenged me. This might have been the only way that this message could have got to me, is because anybody else that did that, I could have said, you don't know what you're talking about. But I couldn't just walk away. I had already decided that it would be the biggest mistake of my life to let this person go. And so I was not going to make the biggest mistake of my life and let this person go. So I did probably the hardest. I thought I already did the hardest thing I could have did, turning around from my rock bottom but it's really hard to know which one was harder. Actually looking at myself, looking at my drug use and asking myself, wait, is it possible that I'm wrong? That might have been more difficult even. I don't know. Like marijuana was my savior. It was my pal. It was my friend. I really didn't like it when people made the comparison of dating Mary Jane. I really didn't like it. It's just too honest. And all the emotions that came out of it. Everything. It's like everything came out. Everything that I thought I found a solution for, it's like I didn't. It all came out. It all came out trying to defend marijuana. But here's the thing. I didn't want to need something to make me a better person. I wanted to already feel that way about myself. It's fun to say, hey, I'm better when I'm drunk. It's almost like you have a superpower. And it's fun to feel that way about marijuana. But there was a more of an adult question of, do you really want that to be true? And my answer was no. I didn't want to need it to be a better person. Because what happens when you don't have it? What happens if money gets tight because you can't spend $100 that week, or more? Or if you have to get your lower grade stuff that doesn't really get you where you want to go, but at least it takes away the bad feelings. And maybe this was really such a big deal. It really spelled the end in a way. And that's why I was upset, is because I saw I didn't really solve anything. Everything was just waiting there. Everything I thought I got past. All of my insecurities. I thought I got past it all. All of my traumas, all of my feelings I had toward the people that I thought did me wrong in life. And I had a new trauma because I started to feel betrayed by marijuana. I thought it was a perfect solution. And I thought I felt betrayed by love of my life for making me choose not to do it anymore. It was an ugly thing to go through because I was really fighting not to have a sober moment with myself. I didn't trust myself sober. I didn't like myself sober. And it made me really sad. I had cravings like no other to get high because I don't know if it's what people say that there's a chemical in it that makes it addictive. It's more like that's how much I didn't want to be myself. And I started looking back, started listening to all the endless conversations and things I had recorded, music ideas. And even the old radio shows, I could hear how actually depressed I was. How the radio shows, the old Dream Apnea radio shows are funny to me almost. Because it sounds like someone who's like stuck in slow motion doing a DJ set. And there were other times where it sounded like someone who's like really almost like stuck in fast forward. And it didn't sound like someone who was balanced, achieving greatness. If anything, I was embarrassed. Like I thought that I was creating ingenious works and I was proud. But then I listened back and all I was doing was, I don't know, it just wasn't what I thought it was. And the music ideas I thought were great. A lot of it was slowly picking at a guitar, picking the same string. You can kind of hear the rhythm. You can barely hear what notes are being played. And that's almost like how the conversations were too. I ended up just deleting so many recordings. I actually thought I would cherish them. I would endlessly mine them for knowledge and wisdom and ideas. I just deleted so many because all I had to do was listen to a couple. I felt like I could hear music in my head that was infinitely complex when I was high. I felt like I could just channel it through my body. But when I listened to all the recordings I had, it wasn't there. And it's amazing to have lived such an inspired moment and to look back at the recording and just feel none of it. Or to think that I was creating something really revolutionary and creative and look back and be so disappointed. I looked back and thought, wow, how much of my time did I waste thinking that I was doing something that I wasn't? I can't really underestimate how difficult it is to stop. When I got caught smoking after I said I was going to quit by a couple people that I really didn't want to catch me doing it, those were such severe moments of clarity that I have to be thankful that they happened. I had to develop a mantra for myself. There was a time when getting high was the new frontier. Now, sobriety is the adventure. Sobriety is the unknown. Sobriety is now the vivid experience. And I was determined to go through the list of things that I thought I was better at stoned and prove to myself that not only could I do those things without marijuana, but that I could be better at those things without marijuana. So my story of drugs and creativity is really a story of self-acceptance, defeating the part of me that wanted to defeat me, that wanted to live up to something instead of me just being me. Learning to trust that being me is enough. Being excited to feel again, because I thought that I was smoking just to feel before. But really, when you're sober, it's scary how much you feel. It's like you're feeling too much. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to get excited for that. This is now an adventure into sobriety, and that's what my life is going to be. And as far as I can tell, I can go down that list of things that I thought I was better at, stoned, and I succeeded at realizing that I wasn't. I didn't need it. And now, I used to think that a moment not stoned is a moment wasted. Now I feel like a moment not sober is a moment wasted. See, I was trying to get the most out of life, but now my life looks like this. Looks like this. More potential. I feel like I've never been more creative. I don't feel like I'm taking marijuana and putting it in the driver's seat because I'm scared. I feel like I'm putting myself in the driver's seat because I want to experience it. I don't want to give marijuana the experience that I should be having, the successes that I should be having. I don't want to let marijuana do the work for me. It might not even be the way that I would want to do it. And so that catches me up to present day. I'm going to get married this year, and I feel really proud of myself for the journey I've gone through. I feel really proud of myself that I've reached the point where I'm not trying to do things to avoid being me. I'm not going to tell you if you should or shouldn't smoke or drink. I know that you're already going to do whatever you see fit, and I'm not here to step on your journey. But what I want to do is share a real story from a real person. These are my experiences. I offer them, I share them, so that others can learn. They can make more informed decisions about what they want to do. And so, yeah, that's my story. Thank you for listening. My name is Lucas, also known as DJ Otherwise, from the Edge of Dream Space.